Today, I'm going to show you how to set up a budget dashboard in Google Sheets. If you followed me for some time, I usually share and go over my budget with you here on YouTube in Google Sheets with my dashboard budget template that I use. But today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to show you how to make a dashboard budget template. It's very user-friendly, and you don't have to be a Google Sheet or Excel guru to be able to put this together. Before I got into digital budgeting, I used to budget on paper. And now that I've switched over to digital, it has made my life a lot easier, especially with doing the math calculations and just visually popping out numbers for me to see has made doing my budget so much easier. So I thought that I would share a little bit of my knowledge. Not that I am not an Excel or spreadsheet guru at all. I am definitely self-taught and just like play around with it. But I wanted to share how you can create just a simple dashboard and customize it to your liking to help you along your budgeting journey. At the end of this, I will also share the template that I make today with you guys as a freebie. So stick around and I'll show you how to get that. Like I said, you don't have to be a Google Sheets guru to really know how to put this together. But there are some basic things that I'm going to go over in case you're not familiar with. But pretty much we're going to use we're going to click on several different things up here at on this tab or this header right here. So some of them are pretty standard, like of course font and font size. We're going to use those. We're going to use the money symbol, the currency. We're going to use the dates. We're going to use bold. We're going to change the color in some cells. We are definitely going to do the borders because that is what really makes your dashboard pop. We're going to merge cells. We're going to play with the alignment of some of these, and then do a couple functions. But these functions are just merely plus and minus. So something that a 4-function calculator can do. But the main thing that we're going to do, if you're not familiar with, is we're going to merge cells, which if you don't know how to merge cells, you just highlight the ones you want to put together in one, and then click merge cells. So that way you have one section merged together. So I'm going to back up and take that out. And the other thing is just some basic formulas. We're going to do equals sum, which is how you add, and then we're going to highlight the section that we're going to add together. It does the math for you. I'm going to back up there. And the other one we're going to use is equals, and then we're going to do subtraction. But usually you can hit control and then the left key on your mouse to go to, or the left button on your mouse to subtract the 2 cells that you want subtracted. We're going to put the minus sign, and it usually does the math for you there. So those are really the 2 only formulas I can think of that we're going to use today. First things first is you do have to have a Google account or a Gmail account to access anything Google related in this spreadsheet. But what you're going to do when you first go into your Google Drive or whatever it may be is go to Google Sheets first and then open up a new template or a new spreadsheet. Once you open up a new spreadsheet, this page will open right here. You can title your spreadsheet whatever you want it to be titled. And it's going to be, right now I have it in 100 zoom. So if you want to zoom out, you can kind of see what it looks like zoomed out. But I usually just hit Control plus or minus to zoom in and out on my computer. So I'm going to make this step by step and walk you through every step of the way. I'll go ahead and put a picture up on the screen of what we're creating today so you'll know what you'll be creating too if you follow along with this video. So again, you can use the template that I provided, or you can create your own, especially with your own colors or whatnot. So it's really up to you. So first things first, what I like to do is create a background for my template. Think of it like a clean paper, a clean slate. So what I do is if you click on the button above the 1 and on the left of the A, it highlights the whole sheet for you. And when you do that, you can change the background color. So you can change it to whatever color that you want. So be careful and be mindful. I guess I have to say not careful. Be mindful of the background colors you choose. If you choose something really dark, wherever you type numbers, you're going to have to play with the colors. So I'm going to keep the background white as is, but I want it to be clean. So I don't want to see my lines, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is go to borders, and then I'm going to change my borders to white. Make sure make sure all the borders are white, not just the inside or just the outside, all of them. So I'm going to click this button, and as you can see, it takes away my lines. So I'm working with a clean slate. The cells are still there though. They did not go away. You can find them by clicking on them. So I am going to zoom out just a little bit to give you kind of a visual of what we're going to be working with. So this is our clean slate right here. And then we're going to essentially put our dashboard at the top with all of our charts and graphs, and then do our data here at the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom back in. I'm going to use this section to put in our pretty much our charts and graphs. So I'm going to come down to about row 10 or so. I'm not going to go all the way to A, but I'm going to start here in B because I like a little bit of section here where it's not totally crammed up against the side here. And I'm going to start, and if you're worried about the size of this, don't worry, because you can always change your row height so you have plenty of space up at the top. But I'll get to that here in a second. But whenever you think of any budget sheet, the first thing you think of is income. So that's where we're going to start, is with income. And with our income, we're going to track the date that we get it, where it's coming from, what we're budgeting to come in, the actual amount that came in, and the difference between the actual amount and the budgeted amount, if that makes sense. So there is our first section right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this section so we can separate it from the other sections. And I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to scroll down quite a ways for this one. We'll stop there at 45. Now this is a lot of income, but let's just pretend we're working with somebody that has several streams of income throughout the month. I'm going to make this a monthly budget template, but you can customize it if you're a weekly budgeter, bi-weekly budgeter, twice a month, whatever it may be. It'll all work. So I want a border around this to separate it. So I don't want every single line shown. I just want the outside border shown, just like this. And I'm going to make it the second one here thickness, so a little thicker than usual. So now we got our section and it is separate. So now I'm going to take this income section and this, I'm going to merge these cells so it's all one cell that we're working with, because that's all I needed in. So I merge those by clicking the merge cells. Then I'm going to center it so it's more aligned. And then I'm going to, I think I'm going to change the font. I'm going to change the font on all of these. I'm going to make it this Playfair display. And then I'm going to change it to 18 and make it bold. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing for the entire box. I'm not going to make it that big, but I am going to change it to the same font and keep it that. But I am going to bold just these titles, and you can make your fonts bigger depending on what you need. You can center the titles, or you can left align it or right align it. You just play with it and see what works for you. I like this. I'm also going to put a border around these little subheadings. So I'm going to put it there. That looks pretty good. So now we have our actual tracker. We can start tracking stuff in here if we want. But to take it a step further, what I like to do is customize these and format these to where they actually show up. Because right now, if you put a date in there, it's just going to type in whatever you type in. But if I want it in actual date format, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this entire section here to the bottom. Then I'm going to click on where it says 1, 2, 3 more formats, and I'm going to change it to date. So it'll put everything in date format for me. The description, I would just put my W-2 paycheck or W-2 income. And then my budgeted amount, I would just put what I expect to receive. And right now it just puts in a number, but I want all of this in number format or dollar amounts. So I'm going to put it in, highlight all of this section because I want all of these in currency, and just type the dollar, that currency symbol, and you can see that it changes it to an actual dollar amount now. And let's say my actual was 4,100, for example. So now I want it to do the difference. So this is where I can put in one of my equations. So equals, and then it'll automatically subtract it for you. Now, right now it's set on to where the actual is minus by the budgeted, but that's really up to you how you want it subtracted. Do you usually subtract your budgeted from your actual, or your actual from your budgeted? Do you want it to look like you made $100 more or $100 less? So like however you want it to show on your budget report is up to you. Because when we start getting in to our bills and variable expenses and savings. It's up to you how you want it to read, like a negative or a positive. So I'm going to keep it like that because I like it to show that I made $100 more and not $100 less. So I'm going to take this formula and just pull it all the way down so that it goes with all of them. I'm not going to take it all the way down to the bottom because I want my totals to go there. So once I put that in there, you can click on any of these and you can see that the formula should work for each section. The last thing I want to do with this with the formulas on this one is to put a total. So I want to put the total of all my income on here. So I'm going to put total here. This is where the description was. So I'm just going to merge these two together since I don't need that one. Merge those. And then this is where my, if you can see, let me zoom out so you can see. So I want to calculate what my budgeted is. So here is another calculation or function. So you just equals sum, and you're going to scroll all the way up to the top here, and you're just going to click the left button or you're on the mouse and scroll all the way down to add up all the section that you want added up, which is right here. You don't want to go all the way down to the bottom because that's where your totals go. And just click enter. Then I want to go ahead and pull this calculation over here all the way across because I want it to sum up each section. And it does that just so. So the math will work out every time, no matter what you do. Sometimes when you pull functions over, it will cut off some of the graphs. So I'm going to add that just by going to my border section and add it to the right side. And then it's all better. If you want this separated, which that's what I would do, I want it in its own box. Looking at it all together now. Now this is really zoomed out, but you can see the whole box. So now the last thing I want to do, now that all my functions are ready to go, is to give it a pop of color. So I'm going to make it look sort of like because it's giving me Monopoly vibe. So I'm going to make it look like the Monopoly card. And we're going to go with, so this income, I clicked on it and I'm going to fill it with a color, whatever color I want. I'm going to choose this dark green color. And this section down here, or the sub heading, I'm going to fill in with a lighter green color. Probably a little bit lighter than that, like this. Yeah, that looks good. So fill it in, fill it in. And if I want to take it a step further, I could do the same color for the lines too. Let's see what that looks like. No, not black. We don't want black lines. We want the green right here. And we only want to do the fill in, only the inside. So take away the white lines. Fill it in. And yeah, that looks great. I think I'm going to highlight, I know what I did. I need to bold this too so it stands out a little bit more like the top. So let me zoom in so you can see it. So there's our little pop of color. Pretty good. You can see your totals. So now I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to show you what I'm about to do next. Now that I have this one ready, I can essentially copy and paste this to other section because now we're going to do our bills, our fixed expenses, our variables, sinking funds, savings, debt, whatever you want to add to this. This is what you can customize. So I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to skip a section here, but I don't want it that big. So I'm just going to scoot this one over and just place it right here. So that way they're not smushed together, but they're not completely touching, but there's like a little bit of a separation. And I'm going to call this bills or fixed expenses, whatever you want to call it. And then you can use the same system here. So let's say you have on the first of every month. So 1/1/24, you have rent that comes out. Your rent is $800. $800 came out. So that there's no difference there. And then the totals still carry over so you can see everything that you spent and your expenses. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to copy and paste it again. And I'm going to call this variable expenses, or you can put sinking funds or whatever you call them. For example, I'm going to do groceries. Now here, you wouldn't leave the date necessarily unless you're maybe a weekly budgeter or something. So I'm going to delete, I'm going to actually delete this column and not this one because it'll mess up my graph. So I'm going to put description here. And then I'm going to go to this line, this column, and I'm going to delete this column. And that way, if you want to get rid of the date, you can. And you can get rid of the date on any of these. But the numbers will still work out. So let's say groceries, you're budgeting $500. There you go. Everything still works out. You only spent $450. It's great. It all works. Again, if you want the difference to be in the positive here, you can change it just by switching the numbers. So it says P12 minus O12. We can just say O12 minus P12, if that makes sense. And then it'll show that you have a positive difference. Now we want to carry it over so it affects all of these. So you can just scroll it down and copy and paste it to the rest of them. So it all works out now. Perfect. So the next one, and you can keep the date. You can copy and paste the ones with the date or without the date. It's up to you. I'm going to do the one without because that just makes sense to me for some reason. Unless your debt has, of course, debt payments, then you might want to put the date. So here I'm going to put savings. You can call these sinking funds, whatever that you are calling them. And then we have I'm going to add a debt one, but we're going to need more columns. So I'm going to insert, click on this drop down box and insert column to the left. I'm going to do a few of those just to make sure I have enough. If you do it to the left, it'll keep your format. It'll keep everything that you have changed in here and not create like a whole new section with different format. So I'm going to squeeze these together, but not right up against each other, just right there. Paste it, and I'm going to call this debt. Okay. And then how much that you're sending to debt when you're sending it. Okay. And then for customization, you can change these to different colors if you like. I'm going to leave them this color just for now, but this is something you can definitely customize. There are all the colors here. So here it is. We have our data, or we have a place to actually put our data now and all of our information. You do not have to use a calculator. You input the numbers and it does it all for you. It's amazing. With that being said, you now have all the information you need to start creating your graphs and charts. So let's scroll up to the top and start working with our actual information up here. Okay, so like I said, you can always pull these down to create more room here at the top for your dashboard. The first thing I like to do is go ahead and put a place for the month. So I don't like to start all the way up here because I don't like to use the very first one because I like a little bit of a border space. So I'm going to highlight this section, these four right here. I'm going to merge them together because I'm going to put the month in here. So January, and I'm going to change the font to what I've been working with. You can put it whatever you want. I'm going to change it to 55 because that sounds good. And I can put 2024. There, that looks great. I can actually center this a little bit more. There. So now we're ready to start inputting our charts and graphs. But before I do that, I think up here on my dashboard, I want a place where I can see a summary of everything. And I think I'm going to put it right here under the month right here. So I can add extra lines here if I want, which I think I might add a couple more. I can always delete as well, but just to give me a little more space to work with. I'm going to merge these together. Remember, we click the merge to merge them together. And I'm just going to type summary because I want a summary of all my numbers. I'd like to see a summary of my income, my bills, my variable, savings, and debt. Pretty much for each one. Because right now I have to scroll all the way down to get my totals to see everything. But I want to see them all up front whenever I first open this. Total expenses left over. So just like my other ones, I'm going to box this in black like my other ones. Then this one also. Okay, perfect. I can also give this the same color or a different color. And I think I'm going to do budgeted versus actual. And then I'm going to merge these two together. If I wanted to, I can even create a column for differences, but I'm just going to do it like this. I'm going to make sure it's all the same font. If we're going to bold it, we need to bold it all, which we can bold. I'm going to center this, and I'm going to go ahead and merge all these and then apply to this whole column here. Perfect. And then same thing with these two. Merge and drag and drop. Fix my chart again. I need to fix my lines. Always happens every time I drag and drop. Then I can make it like this one and then create the lines for that one. I'm just kind of doing things as I go and seeing what I like. And I think I'm going to give it the same color scheme as the other one. Perfect. And if you want some of these fonts bigger, you can make them bigger as necessary, as needed. So for my income, I want this to be the same as what I budgeted here. So what I'm going to do is go to this cell and see that it says D50. So what I'm going to do is go up to here, and I want this to say whatever D50 says. So I'm going to do equals D50, and that's it. Now, if you try to drag and drop this, it's going to say, do you want D51? We don't want D51 for that one. So some of these we might have to enter manually. For bills, I want J50, if that makes sense. So equals J50. And then same thing for variable, O50. Savings, T50. Debt, Z50. And my total expenses, remember, is not going to be your income. It's just going to be these added together. Those are your expenses. So I'm going to do equals, and I want the sum of only these right here. And then I'm just going to highlight those and press enter, and then it automatically does it for you. And in fact, I would probably do my income separately, like create a box around it so I know that this is different than my expenses. And you could even give this a different color. Let's say you highlight your income a different color, and that might actually be better, to highlight it a different green color, whatever it is that helps you remember what this is. I think I'm going to do a different color though, like just choose whatever color you want. And then for my expenses, I can also do another color as well. And that way you know which you are comparing. Again, you can add boxes around it, whatever sounds like, whatever makes it organized for you. You can always change this. And so for my leftover amount, this is what we budgeted, our budgeted income versus our total expenses. So in this case, our goal is a zero-based budget. So we are going to click control our income minus control, click our expenses, and just subtract those together, and that is our leftover amount. So this just means this is how much we have left over after our expenses. Now, once you actually fill this in and you're trying to make a zero-based budget, this will go to zero if you actually input your budget. So that is the goal. So for our actuals, you do the same thing, equals, and you're looking for your actual column, which in this case for your income is C50. So you just type in equals C50. So for bills, again, you are doing K50 equals K50. Your variable equals P50. Your savings is U50. Debt is AA50, so equals AA50. Then total expenses, you can probably just click this over and it'll do the math for you there. Same thing with this one. You can drag it over and it'll calculate it for you. So your income subtracted by your total expenses. Again, whenever you do the drag the formulas, sometimes your lines will mess up, so you can just fix those. I just fix them as needed. And there it is. There is our summary of all of our numbers. So once we actually start inputting more of our numbers, our actuals, for example, then those numbers will update as we enter in our numbers. And I just realized I put the wrong formula. As you see, it didn't update. I put the wrong formula for the income. So I'm going to fix that to E50. So that will all work out now. So for this summary, you do not have to type anything in here whatsoever. You only type in these areas. Down here, of course, some of these will still do the math for you. And this just does the math for you, so you don't even have to use a calculator or anything. You can put whatever you want. So some ideas that you can put in this area are your left to budget. Let's say you want this really big. You can put that right here really big. You can put your leftover amount for your actuals. Some other things that you can do is put your total expenses here, or your total income here. Just maybe one of these numbers that you want to see really big and that really catches your eye every time you come in here. Maybe every time you come in here, you want to see how much money you have left over, which would be right here. How much money you have left over after all your income and bills. Maybe that's the number you want to see. So those are just some options that you can put in this area up here as just big highlighted eye catchers for you. But that's up to you and your personal preference. I can go ahead and put some of those in here as an example of what I'm talking about. So I like things to be organized. So I'm looking at one, let's see, these are five cells I'm working with. So maybe I'll use these 5 here, or I can use these 2. So let me just give you an example. So this might be a little redundant, but it's fine. So I'm going to merge these and I'm going to put total income here. Okay. And then I'm going to, I said I was going to merge these together, but I'm actually going to merge these 2 together. Merge these 2 together, left to budget, make it bigger. Left budget, total income, and then I'm going to do total expenses here. And I apologize in advance if I misspell something. And then I'm going to merge these 2 together, and we'll do left to spend. So again, you can do whatever you want here. I'm just trying to show you an example. So let's see what this looks like. If I put it in a box, I center it. And then if I do the same thing with this one, separate it, also center it. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Do it to all of these. Make it as big as you want. And then you can also do the color. I'm going to do the same color scheme because it's what I've been doing. So let's say I want to space this out a little bit more just to give it a little more space to work with here. So we also want to merge all of these together too. So I'm going to go through each one and do that really fast. So for my total income is actually right here. So I want to use my actual income for my total income. So I'm going to put equals to whatever this number is, enter. And then I like it more centered in the middle. So I'm going to make sure that it's centered more in the middle. For my expenses, I want it to calculate my actual. So I'm going to make this box equal to this one right here. Again, I want it more centered, so I'm going to change that to more centered. Left to budget. This is going to be what I need to budget. So this will be this amount right here. So I'm going to put equals, again, this button or this cell right here. So I'm going to center that. And then left to spend will be this amount right here. So again, you can put any of these over here that you want. It really just depends on your personal preference. And again, I'm going to put that in the center as well. So as you add to this, these numbers will change right here. So as I'm inputting numbers, those numbers will change, if that makes sense. So yeah, and as you fill this in, income, bills, variable, etc., it'll change. So you can actually have one of these or even choose 2 of your favorites, and you can add one to the top here and one add to the bottom here. That way it takes up the whole space in the whole area, but that's up to you. The one thing I like about these dashboards is they're very customizable and you can create them to your liking. So now the fun part is to input charts and graphs, and I didn't leave a whole lot of space for it, but I did leave enough to add a few different graphs if we wanted to. So that's what I'm going to add to this area. If you wanted to, you can even create a section for goals, monthly goals, so you can add to it as you go throughout the month. There's so many variations to these graphs and chart, but I'm just going to go over some simple ones with you today. Is your expenses. So that's the one thing I like to look at is my expenses. So you can highlight the numbers in the sections that you want your data or your graph to capture. So I'm just going to highlight this section right here, which are my expenses. So I'm going to go up to the top and click insert after I highlighted the cells that I want my data to capture. And I'm going to go in to insert and click on chart. When you do this, it's going to automatically give you what they think that you need. I like to go in and customize it to your liking. So let me see if I can zoom in here. So let's say I want to do like a donut chart, for example. Well, as you can see, it's not really showing much, just like one section. As far as the labels, it's picking up B6 through B9, which is good. For the values, it's picking up C6 through C9, which is what we want. But when you click on it, it's only showing the bills. So it's because we don't have any other numbers in here. I actually want to put in some other numbers so we can see it. So let me go ahead and put in some other numbers so we can actually see our chart. Okay, so I put in some numbers so you can actually see our chart now and the different expenses that are coming out, because I just typed in random numbers. But you can see how much of our income was allocated to our bills, how much of our income was allocated to variable, savings, debt, etc. So to customize this even further, you can double click on the chart, click on customize, and really have fun with this. So as far as chart styles, you can even pick a background, a border color. I usually just do the border color just the same as the background. You can make it bigger. You can make it 3D if you wanted to. You can leave it as is. You can change the size of the hole if you wanted to. I just keep it at 50. You can even change how it's shown on the graph. I usually just do none. You can choose different colors of your pie slice, which is what I usually do. So let's say we're going with the green theme. You can continue on with the green theme, go through each one of your categories and change it to reflect that. So I'm going to go through each one and there. So now we have more of a monochromatic look. You can also give this a title. So let's say I'm going to do budgeted expenses, for example. You can also change the font to the title as well. You can center it, you can left align it, whatever you want. And then you can, this is the legend, you can change where your icons are on your chart. I'm going to change my text color to black. Again, you can also change these as well. So there's some options for you. Make them bigger, smaller, whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and align this up. You can line it up with however you want. Make it about yay big because I want to line it up and make it look nice and neat. And I just thought of this, but another thing you could do is you can have a chart for each one of these expenses to see where your money is going within each one of those expenses. So that's an option you can do. And what you would do there is just highlight the description and the amounts, and you can create a chart based off that too. So since I did my budgeted, I want to go ahead and do my actual column too. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to copy and paste because I want the same numbers. I just want it to be a different column. So I'm going to go to setup, and instead of C6 through 9, I want E6 through 9. So I'm going to go over to the values and change it to E. And then as you can see, my chart changed based off that E column that I have. But I don't have as many numbers in the E column. So again, once you put more in there, so let's go down here to my savings because I didn't put anything into my actual. So let's say I put more things into my actual, you'll see that chart update. And let me put it also over here so you can see it reflected. You can also make a pie chart with your left to spend or left to budget. It's really up to you what you want your charts to look like. The last thing I'm going to do for this dashboard is what I do for my budget is just create a goal section. Again, you can put in more charts here, but this is just what I'm doing because I feel like this video is getting a little long. So I'm going to add a goal section. I think monthly goals are very important to make. I know at the beginning of the year, we usually do yearly goals, but checking in with monthly goals is very beneficial and it helps you stay on track to meet your big goals, if that makes sense. So I'm going to change the font to what I've been working with this whole time. Also change the color. I'm going to put a box around it. And then for this section, you can do it however you want to do it. You can do a checkbox if you want to. You can just make this one big box to type in all your goals. If you're interested in a checkbox, you can just add a checkbox by going to Insert and clicking on Checkbox, and it'll add a little checkbox for you. You can bring it down and it'll show all the checkboxes for you that you need, so you can check it off as you go. And you can merge these cells together and create bigger goals like this. Drag and drop. Fix my line again. And there, now you have a goal section where you can write your monthly goals. And I don't like it when the font doesn't match, so I'm going to change that where the font matches. And then you can check them off as needed. And I forgot to change this chart to actual, so let me go ahead and change that. See, things that I forget. Actual expenses, so can't forget that. So there is our simple budget dashboard. This is something that you can also make on your own as well. Again, there are so many different ways that you can customize this to meet your financial goals and needs. I hope you guys were able to get something out of this. As a gift to you this holiday season, I am giving you access to this budget dashboard. If you find it useful, you can use it for your own budget. If anything, it'll save you time so you don't have to calculate everything by hand or with a calculator. It'll do it manually for you. Anything that makes your life a little bit easier to help you hit your financial goals, I'm all about. I'm going to link this spreadsheet in the description box below. Once you click it, it's going to ask you if you want to make a copy. And once you make a copy, it'll go to your Gmail account or your Google Drive account to where you can access it and edit it on your own. It's easier for me to force copy this spreadsheet so anyone can access it. The only thing is you need a Google Drive or a Gmail account to access it. Again, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments below. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.